There's a crackle on the radio, a story to be told about banjos on the hillside and voices paved in gold. Got a cold glass bottle, drop some peanuts in the coat, and I'm sitting on the front porch hanging on every note. The Front Porch Podcast, singing times gone by, with fiddle strings and heartache and the reasons why. We keep this music living, never let it fade so fast. Raise a toast to the legends on the Front Porch Podcast.
Howdy, everybody. Welcome to the Front Porch. It is nighttime in Tennessee. Actually, sun's going down over in the west, and I'm seeing the sun go down on the other side over here. But, you know, I thought it was going to go down while we were doing the show, but it's almost already down. And, you know, with my colorblind self, I don't even know if my lights are good here or not. I feel like I'm like a deer staring into the headlights. And speaking of the deer, they're likely to come join us on the front porch, because if you guys have watched us a few times, you know that the deer visit here. And I just put them on the camera sometimes because they just come up to the front porch. They're in the rut. I don't know if they have the rut in, I'm sure they have it everywhere that has deer, but they're in the rut. So they're out there looking for girlfriends, and hopefully they're having more luck than I am, because, you know, I hadn't had a whole lot of luck yet. Good evening, everybody. Welcome into the Front Porch Podcast, where we talk about country music history. We talk a lot about country music present as well, what's going on in the world of country music. And we're going to be covering a lot of things tonight. I got my cue card right here. It says I need to talk about the news. I'll talk about the news as I always do. And also, we're going to be talking about an AI song that's number one on a stupid chart in country music. We'll talk about that. That's not very surprising to me. And we'll also talk about, I went to the CMA headquarters on Thursday, talk about the meeting I had there. And we'll also talk about a great song from a great singer. I've got my my talent scout out there, J-Cat. He's picked me up another good one. I'm going to play a song from Taylor Austin Die tonight. Sort of perfect for this week, because we've been covering the veterans this week, and it's a song about veterans. And you'll hear that coming up near the end of the podcast. Wherever you're tuning in from, please pop in the comments right there who you are and where you're at. It's just the cool thing we do. We like to take roll, see how everybody's doing, and we do that because we just are friends around here. And if anybody was walking up on your front porch and you'd welcome them to the front porch, you'd say, "Hey, who are you? Where are you from?" So we're doing the same thing here. So let's go ahead and see who's online right now. We always know that Double D Double R is online, because he's always with us, and we love DDRR. J-Cat is good. J-Cat was chatting in the background as we were getting ready to go. And actually, 1 minute before I went live, the microphone fell off the rocking chair. So, still working. It's a Shure SM7B. It's got to always work, I guess. You know, so there are folks chimed in already. Let's see who else we have online with us tonight. Like I said, if you're out there, we want to hear from you. I have to scroll down here to see everybody. There is Katie. Hi, y'all, from T-Town. Thank you so much, Katie, for tuning in. And DDR, Double D Double R says, "Hi, Katie. If you're out there, you're tuned in, please let me know where you're dialed in from." I think last time we had Canada. We had many places in the U.S., West Coast. J-Cat's out there in Portland. Can't remember where Double D Double R is because I have a bad memory. But we have folks from all over the place. Up in Canada. Last time we had New Zealand, I believe it was, Australia. So wherever you're at, say howdy. And as always, he always says howdy, the Tar Heel himself, Mr. William May. He's giving a shout out to everybody in from Chapel Hill, you know. Double D double R, of course he's in Wisconsin. I just have a bad frickin' memory. I can't remember that stuff. And Double D double R says, hey, William. So if you're out there, you want to chime in, you want to say howdy to the crew that watches the Country Music Time Machine, we would love to have you. And I do have, as promised, the Coke and Peanuts. You know, it's the weird thing. I can't even see where the camera is. That's how dark it is out here right now. And I think I got my lights on the wrong side, so I hope I'm looking at the frickin' camera. I don't even know. Y'all are not here to look at me anyway. And I asked my daughter Gracie to come out and check these lights. And I guess Gracie didn't get the message because I have no idea if they're too bright, too low, or whatever. And I have no idea how to control it. But let's bring up Katie again. Katie is in T-Town, Tuscaloosa, Alabama. I guess they're rooting for the Crimson Tide in Alabama. They're in Tuscaloosa, of course. My dad is from Utah, Alabama, down south. Janice Light says, Alabama. Howdy, we got more Bama folks here. Wow, that's cool. We got Maria. Maria's always with us. She's so cool. I think she's probably been on every Front Porch podcast I've ever had. And she is chiming in from cold New Jersey. Not cold in Tennessee. It was cold earlier this week, but thankfully it warmed up. But you know how weather is in Tennessee. It'll warm up and chill down, and there's no telling what's going on. Double D double R says, you're good, Kevin. I hope I am. I just don't know. I've never done a live show at night before like this. I hope the light's all right anyway. Let's bring up somebody else. We got Moss Point, Mississippi. That's Florence College saying, howdy. Yeah, that's how we do it around here. We country folks, we say howdy. And it's weird. I know you can't see this, but I can see my cat looking at me from inside the window over there. One thing we did on the front porch today, I'm going to try to move the camera now, and you can see part of it. We already hung the Christmas lights. Let's go move the camera up, see if you can see it. See that? Isn't that just so cool? I did not hang those lights. I just want you to know that. Because even though I do have a pilot's license, or I had a pilot's license, I used to fly airplanes. Something happened a couple of years ago where I had problem with balance and equilibrium. And so me getting up on the front porch, top of the front porch, to put up those Christmas lights ain't happening. So that just ain't happening. And Janice Light says lights are fine. So I guess all our lights are lighting fine, you know. We've got Robert Appling from Mobile, Alabama. What is going on? Is everybody in Alabama not is Bama playing right now, or they already won? I don't know. I mean, because usually I don't have this many people from Alabama, you know. And J-Cat says the sound is good. Thank you, J-Cat. One of the first things I should have asked, because as I've explained before, I cannot hear what I sound like as it's coming over the internet. I can only hear what I sound like as it's coming over a mixing machine here. So I don't know what that feed sounds like, but thank y'all so much for tuning in. And Katie says, are you referring to Utah, Alabama? Yes, I'm referring to the metropolitan area of Utah, Alabama. That's where my daddy was born. Daddy, 23-year veteran of the armed forces. He passed away in 2020, but I'm sure he's still rooting for the Crimson Tide right now. And DDRR says, that's the only way I like to see icicles. That's true. Living in Ukraine and Russia for 6 total years, I saw icicles, and honest to God, true story. I saw a person who was impaled, not at the actual event of being impaled by an icicle, but this poor lady was impaled by an icicle as I was walking home from work. And I passed, and the paramedics were already there, and they couldn't do anything. So icicles are bad stuff. J-Cat's upset because Darn 911 Nashville is off until January the 9th. I don't know if I'm happy or sad about that, J-Cat. I'm sad that I can't see, our pretty lady we're talking about there. Leanne Rhymes, we know who she is. We can't see her until January 9th. But that show is interesting. I have not watched another episode. I watched 2 episodes, but no more yet. We got Teddy Carpenter from Louisiana. J-Cat says it's called old age. It sure is. ERR says, hey, Freddie. Katie says, those things are huge in Russia. There's a lot of huge things in Russia. But yeah, we're having a good time tonight on the front porch. Anytime, when you just drop into us live here, you want to say howdy to us, pop it in the comments over there. If I'm paying attention like it should be, I will actually look at it and pop it on the screen. But let's go ahead and take Katie off the screen and bring up the Front Porch Podcast news. We're going to run down some news, comments, a bunch of different things as the bugs fly. I think the bugs like my lights here in Tennessee. Community Spotlight this week. All the big-time folks tuning in on YouTube, the most active ones, and no surprise there, Double DRR is number 1 this week. He's always watching, keeping an eye on me, and I appreciate that. He's a great, great friend. Bill and E also tuned in. P. Smith, as always. And there's a Japanese beetle on my knee. I guess I can kill it because it's not a real beetle. I saw something in the news about that today, that if it's got a bunch of spots, we don't want it. So I think I just killed it. Right here, live on YouTube and Facebook. Also, Richard B. Thank you all so much for tuning in. And over on Facebook, these folks are the biggest ones engaging with the Country Music Time Machine this past week, at least November 2nd to the 8th. That's the last report that YouTube would give me. Ella, Colleen, Candace, Michael, Mary, Debbie, Vicky, Terry. If any of you folks are watching right now, I love you, and I thank you for supporting us over on Facebook. All right, you know what's coming up Wednesday night. I think that's Wednesday night. Let me make sure that I've got it correct in my, bringing up my phone. Make sure that's Wednesday night. The 15th is today. I have no idea why it's showing today is Monday on my calendar. That is not correct. Let's see. Let's back it up. Now it looks better. Yeah. The 19th is Wednesday night. That is the CMA Awards. I could have had tickets to the CMA Awards, but since I did not have a date to the CMA Awards, I decided not to attend this year. Because I'll explain in a little bit, I am a member of the Country Music Association, and we'll get more into that. Because I did a few videos this week, and a lot of people were busting the CMA. And some of them I think they had a right to, and some of them I think they don't have a right to. And we'll cover that in just a little while. But CMA is coming on, the awards are coming on Wednesday night. I will be tuned into that. Even though it's a little past my bedtime, I'm going to have to figure out how to stay awake. I don't know how I'll do that. But let's go back to the chat section. We got Corey Beaver. Corey's longtime follower, subscriber, viewer. He's always tuned in from wherever he ends up. Hello, sorry I'm late. I just got loaded here in Stevens Point, Wisconsin. He's in the Double DRR state. He's in the neck of the woods with my friend Double DRR. That's cool. Thank you, Corey, so much. Let's scroll down the list. I saw somebody else here. We've got Maggie Fellows. Maggie, hi, from Melbourne, Australia. My good friends down under. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. I've said it before, quite often, the country music that is coming out of Australia is even more country than the country music coming out of Nashville. We'll talk about that in a little while. So yeah, we got the awards coming up on Wednesday. I won't be there, but I will be watching. Now, what did I do this week? Well, I was a busy fella. As you see on the screen, that's the thing they give us to put on our websites or shows or whatever to show that we are a official CMA member. And, I could have probably made that on Photoshop, but it's real. I'm a professional member of the Country Music Association. Let me explain what that means. That means that I get active with CMA. My goal, my focus is country music history with the Country Music Association. So I hope to be more involved with that, whether it's the Hall of Fame and Museum or helping to, broadcast the word of country music all over the world. I speak Spanish, I speak Portuguese, and I speak a little bit of Russian. So I hope I can get involved with that in the coming year to help the CMA push the brand of country music worldwide, especially the brand that I love, and that's the ones that's got the banjos and the fiddles. And we're going to talk more about that in a little while. But yeah, I was out at the CMA headquarters, if my memory serves me correct, on Thursday. Had a good time. I'm a new member of the CMA, so that means I do not get a vote this year. I became a member in July and August. You had to be a member before June to get to vote, so I won't be voting. So don't blame anything on me this year. You can blame it on me next year. But in this podcast, I'm going to give you my predictions on who I think is going to win some of the awards. You may agree, you may disagree with me, but I will let you know what I think anyway. But, it's my first year as a CMA member, but I worked in radio stations before, and we were actually one of the stations I worked with in Nashville. We won the CMA Station of the Year. So I was never an official member of the CMA, but we were awarded the CMA Radio Station of the Year, which was pretty cool. That was back in the old days when it was a lot of country music on the radio. All right, we got the CMA Awards coming up, and I released a video on Thursday called the CMA Awards, The History. And folks, please watch this, not only because it's one of the few videos, if you do watch it, I actually make a little bit of money, a very tiny bit of money, but watch it because it goes through all the years of CMA Awards. I mean, not every single one of them, but highlights the biggest years. You can see on the screen there, we've got Reba, we've got Alan Jackson, Eddie Arnold, Loretta Lynn, Charlie Pride, Taylor Swift, Charlie Rich as he burns the place down in 1975. And get a lot of comments on this video. I put it on Facebook and YouTube and TikTok, Instagram. A lot of them are like Gary is saying here, there is no country music anymore. It ended in the early 2000s. Here is another comment, and this one's coming from my good friend Josh. And you can read the comment there on the screen, and he is having the same complaint that a lot of folks are. It says, nowadays, it seems that the awards favor artists who barely meet the standards of country music, often promoting the latest pop country acts. Well, there's a lot of truth in that. I wouldn't say that's 100% true, but I think a lot of it's true. But it is what country music is today. What is being played on the radio or what is being streamed and what people are wanting to see and hear and digest is what CMA has to cover, while at the same time attempting to promote and preserve the history of country music, because they've got their hand in the Hall of Fame and Museum as well. So, yeah, I understand where Josh is coming from. I feel his hurt, but I just don't agree with it 100% because working with the CMA over the years and now being part of the CMA, I can see both sides of this coin. I see some staunch traditional country music folks in the CMA, but it is true that when you have so many people from the industry that is part of CMA making the votes for the awards, that's why they lean one way or the other. And my voice on Thursday and any future meetings or get-togethers I have with the CMA is you need to make sure you protect the roots of country music. We've got to do that. And hopefully that will happen. Having said that, on Wednesday night, Big X the Plug is going to be doing a performance with Luke Combs. What the heck is this about? I mean, come on, people. Why do we have a rap star on stage in Nashville, the Bridgestone Arena, for the CMA Awards? Now, a lot of people are going to say, oh, Kevin, you're racist, you're mean. If that boy can sing Hank Williams Jr., or sing like Alan Jackson, or even Darius Rucker, or Kenny Chesney, I love him. But Big X the Plug, I don't think, I'm not been like tuned into all of his music or his rap lately. I'm not sure that's what he specializes in. So what are we doing here? I mean, come on. When you got starving, kick-ass country stars on the streets in Nashville begging for a tip, and we're bringing in rap stars to be on stage, I do have a little bit of problem with that. But I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. Big X, I want you to sing a country song Wednesday night. Let's see if it happens. I don't know if it actually will. We're going to talk more about the CMA in a little while. And let me look at the comments, see if we've got anything new here on the chat area. I'm going to bring up one from Corey now. You mentioning fiddles reminded me that Roy Clark passed away 7 years ago today. If an instrument had strings, he could play it. Yet Roy Clark was incredible. And I want you to be watching the Country Music Time Machine because I'm going to be doing more stuff from Hee Haw as Gracie drives away. I'll be doing more stuff from Hee Haw. A lot of the music that was on the old Hee Haw show, I don't know if you guys remember that show, it was great. Going to be doing more stuff from that. But also, speaking of country history, and this was yesterday. Yesterday was the anniversary of the date in 2016. We lost the incredible Holly Dunn. And quite often, people are shocked when they get that news. I don't know why it wasn't publicized or people missed it in 2016 when she died. She had ovarian cancer. She had a lot of great songs. Her biggest one was Daddy's Hands. So she had a great country music career, and sadly, she left us way too soon. Dear John comments on that post I did. He says, dang, far too young, love that song, at least play the song in her honor. Here we go. And I'm going to explain this to new folks who may not know it. I do play music a lot on this channel. And please understand, the hardest thing to do on the History of Country Music channel, the Country Music Time Machine, is play music. Because copyright is so strong on a lot of songs. So some of the music I want to play, I can't play. Whenever I play it, quite often, if it gets 1 million views, all the money goes to the record companies. Hopefully it goes to the songwriters and performers as well. But, so it's a tough battle. And especially if I ever try to play gospel country music, that's the gospel mafia. It's to play a gospel song has been the hardest thing in the world for me, And we've got William May saying, if memory serves, they had Pitbull on the CMA stage. That is very possible. Some of these award shows, in the name of inclusivity, will bring anybody on the stage. And I'm not saying Pitbull's not talented. I think he really is. As a guy who speaks and understands Spanish, I heard a lot of his music, and it's got a great beat. What he has to do with country music, I don't know. And that brought up another thing. I put a post out yesterday, the day before, about an ad that the Grand Ole Opry House has for a concert coming up next year from George Thorogood and the Destroyers. I know that man is bad to the bone, and he has some sort of quasi-country connection because I think he may have done a Hank Williams song or some other song. I think Joshua commented on this, but I just don't understand why the Grand Ole Opry is focusing so much on rock music. When I was at the Opry 2 months ago, I heard 2 traditional country songs in 2 hours of performance. That is sad, and that does worry me. Corey says Doug Supernaw also passed away 5 years ago this week. I put a post on that. He sure did. We remember and love Doug Supernaw. And Corey says he and Holly both left us way too soon. But we love Holly Dunn. She needs to be remembered. You don't hear much on the radio nowadays. You hear Morgan Wallen and Jelly Roll on replay. And I love some Morgan Wallen songs, and I love some Jelly Roll songs, but I wish they could mix in some of the old stuff too. All right, I did post this week a little clip about whatever happened to the lovely Sylvia. And Jay Cat had chimed in on this one. A lot of folks chimed in across Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and everything. And Jay Cat says, she is from my home state. Ran into her at a covered bridge festival a few years ago while visiting Indiana. The girl looks good. Jay Cat, please, I hope you didn't run into her physically with your truck or your car. I mean, I hope you didn't do that. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, the girl does still look good. This is Sylvia. And Sylvia lives in my neck of the woods here. I think Sylvia is still single. Anybody out there knows Sylvia? Sylvia, if you want to go to the CMA Christmas party with me, I need a date. I'd love to take you. I'll be your friend. Lovely lady, great music, and always thinking about Sylvia. All right, another thing we talked about this week, because we were talking about a lot of veterans, was country stars, the military veterans. I want to bring up this one comment from Corey. Says George Thorogood covered Hank's "Move It On Over." He sure did. That was it's an interesting connection there, because some folks, especially the Hank Williams Jr., I believe, who said this, believe that that was the first rock and roll song from Hank Williams, "Move It On Over." And I do sort of agree with that, because musically, if you look at that song, you look at Bill Haley in the comments, "Rock Around the Clock," there's a heck of a lot of similarities musically in those two tunes. So yeah, but still, George Thorogood on the Grand Ole Opry. How about Sylvia on the Grand Ole Opry? How about more Mark Chestnut on the Grand Ole Opry? How about Aaron Tippin on the Grand Ole Opry? Just a thought. But yeah, we did cover the military veterans this week, and I enjoy doing that so much. You know, I enjoy honoring our veterans, and I always tell them, always be proud of what you've done and what you've accomplished. And I'm so proud of my daughters, too. My most outspoken daughter is Gracie, and you can check her out on the Pop Music Time Machine if you like pop music. But every time she sees a veteran, if she sees a Korean War veteran hat or a Vietnam veteran hat or someone she could identify as a veteran, she goes up to them and thanks them for their service. Veterans Day is over. Yes, it is. But the service and sacrifice of our veterans should never be forgotten. So I challenge you, if you're at a restaurant, you're out at the grocery store, you see a veteran, go up to him or go up to her, thank them for their service, because they do deserve it. One of the big things I uploaded this week was the Ballad of the Green Berets, 1966, from Staff Sergeant Barry Sadler. A great song. I mean, coming out in 1966, as the Vietnam War was just getting even crazier, it was just a poignant song. One of the songs to be remembered from the 1960s, not only in country music. Is it a country song? It's hard to explain what it really is, but it was loved by country fans, pop fans, and a lot of folks. And Ted chimes in, I knew Barry Sadler personally. He was a great person. Now let's go back over to the chat section. We got Bill Trickett tuned in from Newfoundland, Canada, a place I may end up next spring. I'm still debating on doing a country music time machine episode in Canada. So we'll see if I start hanging out with Bill. Bill will buy me a drink of Coke and peanuts, of course, and we'll see what happens. Not sure yet, but hopefully we can put everything together and make that happen. Double DRR says thank you to any vets in this chat or watching, including Kevin. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Double DRR. And I thank all the vets out there. And like I said, you stand by. Taylor Austin Dye is coming up to close out the Front Porch Podcast tonight. And she has a song for the veterans that came out. It came out on Veterans Day. I think it should have come out earlier than that. Not sure the timing of the release of that song. It should have come out earlier, but it did come out on Veterans Day, and J-Cat told me about it, and you're going to hear it here very soon. All right, another thing I did this week. I saw, and this is really, I should have called this crap on Facebook post, but earlier this week, after the fellow won the mayor of New York deal, and I still don't know his last name, Mondami. I'm sorry. Even though I served a while in Iraq, I'm not good with Arabic last names. Sorry about that. But I saw a lot of the crap websites like Pure Country Spirit, which is pure country bull. You know what it is. Breaking. George Strait cancels all 2026 New York shows. Sorry, NYC. Total crap. I don't know if he had any NYC shows scheduled. And it also came out about other artists doing that. So as a joke, I did one making fun of people who get it wrong. And Pure Country Spirit, if you look at that, if you get 805 likes, 200, 300 comments, and all those shares, they're making money, folks. I bet you that post alone, and depending on how much it did, probably garnered from $200 to at least $1,000. And they do multiple of those posts. It's usually bots and AI stuff, but there's a human pushing those buttons somewhere. So I made fun of it, and I said, breaking news, Hank Sr. cancels all 2026 New York shows. And of course, I was hoping people would understand the joke. Hank Williams left us in 1953, if my memory is serving me correctly, on January 1st. Of course, he doesn't have New York City shows. I was making fun of these butthead AI bot crap, Pure Country Spirit, Facebook pages that grab people's attention with fake news, and people fall for it and believe it, especially older people who may not understand the truth from the fake stuff. So I tried to make fun of them. Then, of course, Cheryl chimes in and says, Hank Sr. has been dead for a long time. BS post. Yeah, it was a BS post. It was a fake post from me making fun of the other fake posts. But for some reason, Cheryl did not get it. So I told Cheryl, I said, Cheryl, read the post. I'm making fun of those who are using country singers on fake AI posts. I know it's fake, but quite often, folks looking at the AI does not know it's fake. So anyway, that post didn't go over good. All right, now let's talk about more AI crap. And I tell you, the more I have to deal with AI, and this is coming from a guy with a degree in computer science who served his country overseas 24 years in cybersecurity. I'm not an expert at AI, but I know enough that it scares me, and it pisses me off how it's being used in music. Now, in this post I uploaded, I call it The Robots Are Taking Over. An AI group with an AI country song. The group's called Breaking Rust. What the heck does that mean? Released an AI country song, and Billboard. Now, Billboard music is not very well known for being very smart. They're not the most intelligent group of folks on earth, especially when it comes to country music. Because, if you see who won the Female Country Artist of the Year last year, you know what I'm talking about. But they have some sort of chart, and they've got a lot of charts, and we respect their charts. Historically, we respect the heck out of them. But they do have a chart. I can't remember the name of the chart, but this song was the #1 country song of the week online or something. So I'm going to play you, while I take a sip of Coke and Peanuts, a little news clip about this.
The AI-generated country hit Walk My Walk by Breaking Rust, hitting #1 on a Billboard chart. The song, released less than a month ago, already streamed more than 3 million times, beating out actual humans for the top spot on Billboard's country digital song sales chart. The success getting mixed reactions.
It's an AI-generated song, and I'm not sure how to feel about that.
Billboard acknowledging Breaking Rust is an AI act, saying it's one of at least 6 to chart in the past few months alone.
I just want to say this. That dude that said, I just don't know how to feel about that. Man, grow a pair. You should feel bad about that. You should feel bad that computers, AI is taking over humans. It should piss you off. And the people in Nashville, it should piss them off as well. But some people it doesn't. I read some new articles from Nashville in the last 24 hours, and some of them made comments, we don't know how we feel about this. We already use some elements of AI in our production. Well, like I've said before, AI has no place in human creativity when it comes to art and music. Because if it takes over, the humans will not be needed. I'll say this again. I'll say this in front of my friends at the CMA. I'll say this in front of the world. If you are a real country artist, put on your albums that you are real and you're not using AI. Put some sort of banner on there or something saying 100% authentic. I dare you, because I know right now that some of the music coming out of Nashville, while it may not be 100% AI, AI has a lot of influence into what's happening there. And one of the guys commented this week saying, well, we use AI sometimes for the songwriting process. You don't need AI for songwriting process. We've had AI, we've had great songwriters for decades. We don't need AI to write great country songs. So yeah, that just didn't make me very happy. Coming up, I'm going to be talking about the CMA Awards and give you my predictions. I'm going to show a question first before I talk about Zacktop. Talk about Jelly Roll. Bill says, Kevin, I have a question for you or your listeners. Jelly Roll, how did he become a country entertainer? In my opinion, he's more like a rapper than country. You know, that is, I'm going to be honest with you, Bill. If Joshua is watching, or maybe J-Cat, they can chime in. I'm not a country music historian on Jelly Roll, but I know a lot about how they create these artists. To me, when I hear Jelly Roll songs, I don't really hear rap. I hear rock. I hear rock infused with blues. So, and he may have some other stuff that's rap, you know. And I also hear Jelly Roll on continuous loop with Morgan Wallen on almost all Nashville radio stations. So if anybody else out there, and I can look it up, has any inside scoop as the bugs fly all over me on Jelly Roll, just chime in. I just know that he was arrested 40 times and in jail a lot in Nashville. He cleaned up. Thank God for that. He does have talent. Is it all 100% authentic talent? I don't know. We'll have to do some more research on that. But he's got good songs. Are they 100% country? Heck no, they're not. They're not 100% country. And you got to take it for what it is. But he's popular. People love him. And I have no issue with his music. His music is good. I like some of his music. I have issue with the style that is overbearing on country radio now, and the style that is being punched out by a Nashville music industry that is so poppy, so rock, and so hip hop, and our true traditional country music has fallen by the wayside. That's the issue I have. So, having said that, one person that is saving a little bit is Zach Top. And while the Grammy Awards is another one that I don't really watch or have much interest or hope in, I do give a shout out to the Grammy Awards for the 3 nominations going out to Zach Top, who is a country music singer. He's nominated for next year's Country Song Grammy, Country Solo Performance, and Traditional Country Album. So I really do hope Zach Top wins every one of them. All right, we've got the CMA Awards coming up live on ABC, later on Hulu on Wednesday night. I think that's 7 o'clock Nashville time, 8 o'clock Eastern, I think. I will be watching, but now I'm going to give you my predictions. And J-Cat says, I won't listen to him. He's talking about Jelly Roll. I will tell you this. When I first heard about Jelly Roll, I kept calling him Jelly Bean because I was like, Jelly Roll, that's a unique name. Anyway, let's go over some Front Porch Podcast CMA Awards predictions. And let me just tell you this. I am a member of the CMA, but what information I'm giving you here now is nothing about what I heard at meetings or anything or from other CMA members. This is just what I think. Here's a few awards. I'm curious how close I'll be, but here's a few awards I'm going to mention, and I'm going to give you my predictions. The Vocal Group Award. This is a weird award because I'm not sure. Jake or Joshua may know this, and I should have researched this, that if any of these groups had a hit this year. But it's weird in country music groups are so rare. I mean, yeah, you do have Alabama. You had the Carter Family, which was the first country music group. You have Alabama and Diamond Rio. But honestly, the percentage of country music groups are incredibly low. But the Vocal Group Award nominees this year, Lady A, or as I like to say, Lady Antebellum, Little Big Town, Old Dominion, surprised they hadn't changed their name. I guess they're not offended. Rascal Flatts, and the Red Clay Strays. You know, that's a hard one to pick because who has had a hit? So I have to base my feeling on this one is, as I say, word on the street. As I've talked to total strangers, every blue moon someone walk up to me and say, hey, you're Kevin from the YouTube or from the Facebook thing. Yes, ma'am, I am. And I'll get in conversations, and more than one has mentioned this group, and I've listened to them. So my prediction for the Vocal Group of the Year, based on my limited exposure to other country music fans in the last few months, is the Red Clay Strays. I have listened to them. Their talent is incredible. Their vocal ability, if it's 100% authentic, is incredible. Are they 100% country? I don't know. I haven't listened to enough of their stuff, but I hear a lot of rock in there, and they got to push it to the masses, I guess. But I think they're going to get it this year. We'll see. I know there are Red Clay Stray fans out there, and I've seen them commented on this channel quite often, and that's probably why it's been infused in my brain that for some reason there's a legion of Red Clay Stray fans out there. And, you know, let's see what happens. I hope it comes true. I hope that prediction comes true. All right, the next prediction is for Song of the Year. I don't think this one is as hard. You've got 4x4 by You, Lainey Wilson. You also have Am I OK, Megan Maroney, I Never Lie, Zach Top, Texas, and we also have You Look Like You Love Me. I think this one is obvious. I think that even though in many cases, since Lainey Wilson is the host of this show Wednesday night, and I won't be there, but I think that's going to have some influence on some of the awards, but not this award. According to Kevin, the Song of the Year will be You Look Like You Love Me, because that song has such an impact. I mean, it was played over and over and over again. Most of it, the essence of it is traditional country music, and people loved it. And there's so many traditional country music fans out there that have not been served by country radio. And J-Cat says 4x4 by You. Well, actually, my favorite country song of the year, I could probably say it, is Somewhere Over Laredo from Lainey Wilson, which is, I think, just a masterpiece of a song. You take Somewhere Over the Rainbow and you mix it in. Oh, man, that's freaking talent. But it's not nominated this year because it came out later. So 4x4 by You is nominated. But we'll see if J-Cat is right or I am right on that one. The next one. This one's for New Artist of the Year. And I wonder how they're going to go with this one. All right. We've got Ella Langley, Shabuzi, who does have a cowboy hat on, Zach Top, Tucker Wetmore, and old Steven Wilson. Now, I like a lot of these. I actually like that latest song, Good News from Shabuzi, even though it's not really a country music song, but I like it. I like Ella Langley stuff. I like Zach Top stuff. I love Tucker Wetmore stuff. That I think he does the 3-2-1 song. I don't know. I'm addicted to that song for some reason. But who does Kevin think is going to win the new artist of the year? Ella Langley. Now, as crossed in this one, a lot of folks are going to say Shabuzi is going to win it because they don't want to feel like they're being discriminatory. Shabuzi did have 2 big songs. I'm not sure if Good News is really included in this award cycle or not, but the Tipsy song was amazing. But as far as a new artist that crossed boundaries, sang great country music, now really crossed between this one with Ella Langley and Zach Top, but I think Ella Langley is going to do it. And I hope she does. I hope she wins that one, but we will see. We'll see how good of a prognosticator I am. Next up, this is a big one, Male Vocalist of the Year. Now, I've heard good things about every one of them. If I was voting on this category, if it was my vote, and I will vote next year because I'm a new CMA member, I can't vote this year. But if I was voting, I would vote Zach Top just because his songs have been so popular. And he has proven, he and Ella Langley really have proven that this is what country music really sounds like. But it's not, I'm just making predictions here, not telling you who I'm voting for. I'm telling you who I think will win. And for Male Vocalist of the Year, I think it's going to be Morgan Wallen. Not all his songs sound like full-blown country songs. I do not like the fact that he has explicit label on his album. I'm just a prude. I don't like cursing in songs, you know, just the way I am. But you cannot deny the fact that there are a legion of Morgan Wallen fans out there. And some of his songs I really like. And I think they are country songs. They may be a little poppy, a little rocky. Excuse me. But they're good. So, and his impact has been amazing. Sometimes he has every frickin' spot on the Billboard Top 10. And he is just loved worldwide. So as far as Male Vocalist of the Year, though the one that made the biggest impact, it's probably Morgan Wallen. Female Vocalist of the Year. I'm curious about J-Cat's thought on this one. We've got Kelsey Ballerini, Miranda Lambert, Ella Langley, Megan Maroney, and Lainey Wilson. I think in this case, the award show host is going to take home the prize. Lainey Wilson. She sings great country music. She's had great country songs. 4x4 by You is the big one really being talked about at this award show. But Somewhere Over Laredo is one of the greatest country songs I've heard this year. So in advance, let's say congratulations to Lainey Wilson for winning the Female Vocalist of the Year award. Like I said, this is not secret information from the CMA. This is my prediction. It has nothing to do with what I've heard or seen at the CMA. It's just what I think will happen. Let's keep rolling. The Single of the Year nominees. Now this, did I already do this one? I think I did. Yeah. I think I already did this slide. Am I losing my mind? But the Single of the Year is going to be You Look Like You Love Me from Ella Langley and Riley Green. Most powerful song of the year. Probably played more than anything else, even though I Never Lie. I love Luke Combs. Now, I probably still love Luke Combs, even though he's performing with a rap artist on Wednesday. But let me back up here. I'm just going to make sure I'm not losing my mind, because sometimes single and the song of the year is the same freaking thing. Yeah, it's almost everybody's the same in that. But the nominees, 4x4 by You, that J-Cat probably thinks going to win it. Ain't No Love in Oklahoma, great song from Luke Combs. Am I Okay? Megan Maroney. I think that's a song. It sounds like Taylor Swift. I'm not sure. I Never Lie. Love that one from Zach Top. Also like Good Times and Tantalions. And You Look Like You Love Me. And when that song came out, I was overseas, and people overseas were going crazy over that song. So I just think for that impact, the winner for the single of the year is You Look Like You Love Me. Just remember, song of the year goes to the songwriter, singer of the year goes to the artist. And finally, the entertainer of the year. This is always the hardest one, because I think that 4 of the 5 on this list could win it. I think that the 2 that have the biggest chance of winning it are on the bottom. That is Morgan Wallen or Lainey Wilson. And, you know, when you get played every 20 minutes on 90% of the country radio stations in America, and your concerts are selling out around the world, you're throwing bats at spectators, you're probably going to win Entertainer of the Year, because you're entertaining us even when you're violent and you're drunk and throwing chairs off of balconies and being arrested. So I think Morgan Wallen's going to take home Entertainer of the Year. Could be wrong, but that's just what I think. But I think one of the greatest things about the award shows on Wednesday, and I'm looking forward to watching, is the young lady I used to hang out with, interviewing her on the radio, Patty Loveless, is going to be performing. And I'm 100% sure, because Vince Gill is going to be winning that Lifetime Achievement Award. I'm sure Patty has a lot to do with what's happening with Vince that night. All right, let me go back over and check out the chat section, see what everybody's up to. I guess we've quietened down for now. But now let's talk about a person who sings country music. When you hear this voice and you see her, you will not doubt what you're watching is a country artist. Her name is Taylor Austin Dye. And I think Taylor is originally from Kentucky. But as I've noticed, a lot of the authentic traditional country singers are finding more love in Texas than they are Nashville. So she hangs around a lot in Texas and Nashville when she needs to be up here as well. But J-Cat, who is my unpaid talent scout, sent me a message. Said, Kevin, you need to listen to her, especially on Veterans Day. And this song is called Little Green Men. And this song, you might think by the title, is talking about little green men. I first thought it was talking about aliens. It has nothing to do with aliens. But we all remember playing with the toy soldiers when we were kids. At least those of us old enough were playing with toy soldiers as they were kids. Kids nowadays are playing TikTok. But as kids, we played with toy soldiers and played war and all that stuff. And Taylor, in this song, is actually putting the spotlight on the women veterans of the world. And while it's obvious, statistics show us that a huge overwhelming majority of those who have served in our military and who have died were men. But they're not the only ones. Even during wars, whether it was the Civil War or World War I or II, there were women serving their country in those wars, whether they were military affiliated or not. Some were nurses. But as women started to serve in more roles that men would serve in, they started to die as well. So this is a salute to those ladies, those fine women who have served the military. And like I've always said, if you're a woman who has served your country, never, Never be ashamed of that. Be proud of that. If they ask you to stand at a ball game or at church or wherever you're at, you stand with pride because you served your country. Serving your country does not mean serving one president. Does not mean you're serving Trump or Biden or Bush or Obama. It means you're serving your country, the good and bad of the country, and you should be proud of that. So I'm going to play Taylor right here in just a second. So until then, until next time, this is Kevin saying God bless all of you. Thank you all for tuning in all the way from Australia to Canada to the West Coast, the East Coast. I love you. Let's always keep it country. And right now, let's enjoy Taylor Austin Die.
Little green man in a box of toys, playing pretend with the cul-de-sac boys, scattered all around the kitchen floor, headed off to fight that living room war. Black bandana in a belly crawl to home base down the hall. Stars and stripes in her bright blue eyes. She took that call and took her pride. She was ready to fight and ready to die, to keep on glory flying high. Just a little girl, little dream back then. She couldn't wait to fight like the little green men. Little green men came to senior day. They signed her up and they took her away. Middle of the summer, 10 weeks long, trained her up and made the girl army strong. Laced up boots and a slick back blonde with a one-way across the pond. Stars and stripes in her bright blue eyes. She took that call and took her pride. She was ready to fight and ready to die, to keep on glory flying high. Just a little girl, little dream back then. Now she's headed off to fight with the little green men. Little green men folding up the flag. The cul-de-sac boys welcomed her back. She paid her dues and she paid the price. She made the ultimate sacrifice. They played taps and sang a hymn and laid her down in Arlington. Stars and stripes in her bright blue eyes. She took that call and took her pride. She was ready to fight and ready to die, to keep on glory flying high. Just a little girl, little dream back then. She gave her life with the little green men. Little green men in a box of toys, playing pretend with the cul-de-sac boys.
There's a crackle on the radio, a story to be told, about banjos on the hillside and voices paved in gold. Got a cold glass bottle, drop some peanuts in the coat, and I'm sitting on the front porch hanging on every note. The Front Porch Podcast, singing times gone by, with fiddle strings and heartache and the reasons why. We keep this music living, never let it fade so fast. Raise a toast to the legends on the Front Porch Podcast.